built their big house, bigger than they really needed. He got the dualies on his pickup when the dealer gave him a choice. Now he's lost his job on the build site, and he's struggling to feed his boys. In the red cedar grove, red cedar flow, long after...
We're here in the most northern state of the lower 48, a place famous for the artists formerly known as Prince, 10,000 Lakes, and Paul Bunyan. On this show, we meet people connected to the land, gather food, and end with a feast. Welcome back to Dirt.
Welcome to Mississippi.
Not Mississippi! Josh, not Mississippi!
Welcome to Minnesota.
In preparation for this trip, we are picking up a pair of boots. The name of this town probably rings a bell. That's it, home of Red Wing shoes.
Hey, Josh, nice to meet you.
100-year-old machines and a union of hardworking craftspeople. I've worked 20 years in the apparel industry, and this is my first time in a heritage American factory.
Dude, dirt just got turned into how it's made.
We feel lucky to witness some trade secrets behind Minnesota's toughest boots. These boots are crafted from start to finish in this town. The hides are sourced from local cows, leather tanned up the street, boots constructed in this building.
Thank you.
2,700 miles up the Mississippi from New Orleans, and we're meeting up with our host chef for a quick breakfast before we hit the road.
Yeah.
Josh! Man, how you doing, bro? It's good to meet you. So we're at Hmong Village. We have all these vendors here. There's a little market in here. I mean, we look at this. This is like the stuff we grew up eating all the time.
Want to dig it like the pea? Is this pea vine?
Yeah, this pea shoots. Yep. You know, you stir fry it. It's like so delicious. Here, especially in the Twin Cities, this market is huge because it's a congregation place. It's also like a community center where a lot of older Hmong people come and they hang out, they eat together, and they shop together here.
This is my childhood.
Oh, I know.
And that exciting moment when you started eating shrimp heads for the first time.
The Hmong are an ethnic group originating from Southeast Asia. Displaced by the Vietnam War, many became refugees and found their way to the cities. Yia was born in a refugee camp in Thailand. Now, he's an award-winning chef, using his food to tell the story of his people.
So what we also found out too, that since we don't have any like local papaya here,
Sure.
if you use unripe cantaloupes, same texture, same flavor. Yep. Like all those flavors we talk about.
There's no better way to start the morning with whole Thai chilies.
With our restaurant, we have this little mantra. We always say every dish has a narrative. You follow that narrative long enough and close enough, you get to the people behind the food, and once you're there, it's actually not about food, it's about people. That food is a catalyst into cultivating great relationships. You want to know people, know their food. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no problem. Yep. Thanks a lot for coming by. Man. See you in a few days.
Sounds good.
Yeah, bring me some good stuff, bro.
All right,
Yeah.
I got you.
You want to know people? Know their food. Can't say it much better than that. You want to know a place? Know their honey.
Most of the nectar is gone from these now, but 2 weeks ago, you could just hear the humming, thousands of bees.
This is an endangered Minnesota wild prairie. Brian is on a mission to save these types of places and produce single-source honey from the flowers and trees that live in these rich ecosystems. Let it be known that I am allergic to bees. I will be repeating this until our producer listens.
I'm noticing a gap. May I?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Is that all right?
Yeah. Could have gotten interesting.
This seems something that looks like unchanged.
1800s technology here.
1800s
Yeah.
technology.
Up until the 1800s, honeybees were kept in a tree or in a log or something crude like that. But in the 1860s, a priest in England discovered that the space between these combs is critical. Humans can't mess with that. And that simple discovery allowed the invention of these removable combs.
Beautiful.
So this is a wax structure, honeycomb that the bees make to store the honey. Look really close, you might see an egg that's like a miniature piece of rice.
Unreal. You can see them kind of wrapped up like larvae, yeah?
Yeah, so then they'll cover that and that'll be the pupa, the brown covering, and then after 21 days, the bee will chew its way out like a butterfly.
So it smells incredible in here.
I know, doesn't it? That's definitely the honey.
Single source honey is raw honey from one location, one hive, and one season, capturing a unique snapshot of the flavors of that specific time and place. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to our friend and lead singer of Trampled by Turtles, Dave Simonet.
I'm Dave. Nice to meet you.
Out of reach is come and go, and I'm forever grateful. They come and tell me long and slow exactly what I wait for. Better times, yeah, better times. Somehow I don't believe it. Built a house up long ago, just to up and leave it. I'm more comfortable in the bee hat, I think. Really? Without it.
That's the shot that's gonna call it.
Farms turn to forest as we head up towards the North Woods to an old mining town along the Kettle River. In a few months, this town will be throwing an ice climbing festival, but for now it's still harvest season. There are nearly 112,000 farmers in Minnesota, of which 39 are black. By growing hemp and extracting CBD, Angela and Harold are on a mission to bring equity into farming.
That is hardy.
So people call these colas. So this is a cola. And what I am looking for is the development of the leaves and these little hairs here, because this is where the medicine is going to go. It hasn't always been easy for us here because we're really the only commercially licensed hemp facility in the state of Minnesota that's owned by people of color. It's really important because people don't always feel comfortable in these kinds of areas. And even though it's really second nature to Harold and I think, the best way to do it is by showing folks.
Oh, it smells so good too.
Yes, that's all of the amazing terpenes that's being produced.
At the end of the Civil War, a plan was created to allocate 40 acres and a mule to formerly enslaved families in order to provide an equal means of self-sufficiency to everyone. However, this promise was never fulfilled. Today, Angela and Harold have created the 40-acre co-op to bring farmers of color together to gather support and funding for their farms.
So we call her Wonder Woman after the indigenous warrior queen who fought for the sick and children. And her real name is Califia. She's an old Amazonian warrior princess. That's where the original Wonder Woman came from. So she's my Wonder Woman.
Beautiful. My father was a marijuana defense attorney for 30 some odd years.
Oh, wow. Dad.
He was a cool dad.
Yeah. Well, we haven't really gotten yet up to being able to write $1 million lobby checks, but we'll get there one day.
The wave is headed in your direction.
We are headed to Duluth, a Rust Belt town that sits on the edge of the wilderness.
Duluth has 100 years of Nordic immigration, built on timber and mining, and all of that was happening as immigrants were coming from Northern Europe. I mean, I would think of it this way, right? If you're an immigrant who has this cultural gift of the sauna, You don't leave that at home.
Right.
You recreate that here. Come on in.
Justin and his team welcomed us to the North Woods with saunas, Finnish candy bar-inspired cocktails, and a local spread that included eel pout harvested by the Red Cliff Band of the Ojibwe. In 2009, I opened a surf shop with my friends in Lower Manhattan. We thought that was an adventurous endeavor. Now picture one here in Duluth, Minnesota.
Last year we were surfing, it was negative 30 temp.
Negative 30.
And I think I was actually talking to Dan, and I was like, I think this is like too cold for our faces.
Right.
He was like, oh, that would be fine. I'm like, all right, fair enough, let's go.
I think we're part of like a very small club. Guys who build surf shops in unlikely locations.
You should wax this thing up.
Okay.
By some small miracle, the one day we are in Duluth is the first day they have had proper swell in 6 months. A mellow freshwater break with no localism. The reward for surfing in the cold wind and rain. We left Jerry with a branch of Harold's magic flower. He was stoked, but we are pretty sure Jerry is always stoked.
Yeah, people see this and they're like, oh my God, like, who invented this? This is so new and wild. It's like, no, people have been doing this for thousands of years. Salt and temperature and humidity and preservation.
Saunas, surf shops, and smoked fish. Duluth is a cool little city on the edge of the wilderness. We continue north to the Gunflint Trail, entering into a remote wilderness that is considered one of the quietest places on Earth.
And you remember what it's like when all the world's filled with light. Now do you have that in your sight? Spread it around, do. Spread it around, do. Spread it around, do. Have you felt joy in your days? Even though you've had your share of pain, but just hoarding all that joy again. Spread it around, do. Spread it around, do. Spread it around, do.
Lucas is the chef de cuisine on hunting trips with his buddies. He portaged in fresh game meat and a local biscuit recipe to cook the crew a feast.
I mean, they're damn good. Yeah.
Lucas told me he had been drinking this lake water since he was 12. Pro tip, for those of us without the Minnesota microbiome, don't drink the water. No one likes diarrhea on a road trip, let me tell you. Minnesota is commonly known as the land of 10,000 lakes. These lakes and the abundance of fresh water have shaped the human history of Minnesota.
I try to make sure when I do like the big pieces like this, I use up all the bark down to the minute so I don't get in trouble with nature.
Pat is a local artist, specializing in an art form deeply connected to nature. By carefully peeling off live birch bark so as not to kill the tree, he weaves sacred images like his ancestors have been doing for thousands of years.
So when I do a simple loop, how we do it. This is res style, and how to just quickly come up with how to get it.
Turns out I've been doing things res style all my life.
Hell yeah.
Every fall, Pat participates in another Native American tradition unique to this region. Today, he has gathered his buddies to show us the wild rice harvesting process from start to finish.
One of the main reasons why we do an offering is to acknowledge that the rice that gives us life, and to respect that.
Manumin is the Ojibwe name for the grain that has been a food staple of the Minnesota Native people for centuries. It means the good berry, and it is the only grain indigenous to North America.
Pat was one of my first teachers. He taught me last season, and so there's not many ricers that want to go ricing and put in the work. It takes a lot of work, and there are families out there that do it as a family, and then they'll gift out to the elders who can't get out there. Ani buju and dinner we're gonna do. Minogisi kukwe minawagay, mashkakumakwe minawagay, gagi gay wabishki migizi quendish because Lindsay Indigo Migizi and Duda, Mrs. Igending and Dunjaba. My name's Lindsay Mitchell. I'm from Mille Lacs Lake and I'm a Gizi clan.
It's the opening day of grouse season, and here I am, wandering the woods with one of the most well-known hunters in Minnesota.
Anything, Josh?
Nothing so far.
I have literally never hunted, and am a fumbling citiate.
If we hear one get up, we'll go after it.
Got it.
Because they will, sometimes they only fly 40 yards or so, and then they sit back down.
3 things I learned about hunting today. Aim for the trees. Don't have a film crew following you around, and I should probably stick to throwing myself off bridges.
There's it.
All right, I heard it. Let's go this way, Josh. Yeah, we flushed another one, or the dog did.
I'm never sad about a good walk in the woods.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Especially on a beautiful day.
All right.
Well, we can take a squirrel if you want one.
Catch and cook squirrel would be pretty fun.
Squirrel is actually quite good.
That's what I've heard.
Greg hunts to eat. He's been hunting for half a century here with a 30-year career committed to land preservation. Even though we didn't get any grouse, Greg led us into his sacred game freezer, and we grabbed some for Yia.
Oh, 2 more rough grouse.
How do you know that I don't have a soul? How can you look me in the eye? Tell me no, soul is a soul, is a soul, is a soul. Rain down the water that created us both. My old man's soul in his old dog's coat. A soul is a soul, is a soul, is a soul.
Our final stop is Yia's family farm to grab some remaining vegetables for the feast.
You know, it's funny because I always tell people that my parents have a garden.
Yeah.
But then I remember that when you say garden, people think of this like hipster box.
Right. Yeah,
you know
yeah. The hog fence.
Yeah.
All of the veggies from Yia's restaurant are grown here by his family on this 10-acre plot of land.
So, do you guys just want to just dig in?
Let's dig in if that's all right.
I apologize. They get a little bit like, you know, kind of like DP-ish out there. So this is Hmong cucumber. So it's a
Really?
Yep. You know how I was saying when I was a kid and I'd be like out here just farming, you know?
Sure.
This is what our snack would be.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Are your memories attached to
Oh my gosh,
flavor?
like right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have these gardens not because we're trying to do some farmer's market, whatever. This is actually where our food comes from.
Next year, Yia is opening his restaurant, Vanai. named after the refugee camp he was born in. His parents will provide the vegetables for that too.
We could start a band. This is beautiful.
Great food has a story, and Yia's has taken root here.
Man, I'm so excited.
All right.
Oh, we got a splitter.
When something's like halfway there, you take advantage.
This to me is so Hmong, it's also so Minnesotan.
Out of reach is come and go, and I'm forever grateful. Come and tell me long and slow exactly what I wait for. Better times, yeah, better times, somehow I don't believe it. I built a house up long ago just to up and leave it. With like a mousetrap, queen of the sky, I'll tell me I'm forgiven. Simulated pilgrims, why oh why won't they take me with them? Sell me something bright and shinier than I can imagine.
My time in Minnesota was about the connection people have to where they live and the food they eat. From the original people who lived on this land to the most recent immigrant population, Minnesota is rich. Is it the water, the kindness and respect for people in the land? Whatever it is, I'm thankful these people shared some of it with me.
Like, you know, people always ask, like, well, how do you start? This is like, you just dig in.